Things are starting to get pretty real because in 2 weeks from today, I hop in the Gladiator and I head for a month-long trip to the Arctic Circle. And while I have done a lot of work to the Gladiator, there's still a few things left to do. But there's 5 really cool things that I did recently that I want to share with you today. 4 of those are very unique. 3, I don't think any other Gladiator has ever had before. And 1, well, it's probably the coolest thing I've ever done to a Jeep ever. Some of you are probably going, Brad, what's this Arctic Circle trip? You haven't talked about this before, and I haven't. I do plan on doing a prep video before I leave. Fingers crossed I still have time for that, and I will kind of explain what's coming, but I'm super excited. This is going to be one of the biggest trips I've ever done. Now, as far as the Gladiator, I did something recently that has kind of been something that I've been debating about, and I finally took it down to my local shop at Shift Auto Works, and Jerry helped me regear the Gladiator. And originally this is a Jeep Gladiator Rubicon. It came with 410 gears. I only put 35-inch tires on here, and some would argue that you don't need to re-gear a Wrangler or a Gladiator if you already have the 410 gears. But if you buy a Rubicon with an Extreme Recon package, which comes with 35-inch tires, it comes with 456 gears. The debate is there really a big advantage, or is it cost effective from going from 410 to 456? And I think that really is kind of an individual thing. For me, I knew that not only was I going to put larger tires on this, but I was going to be adding a lot of weight, and I'm going to be towing. And I opted to do something even a little more dramatic. I didn't go with 456 gears. I went a little shorter, and I went with 488 gears. Now, I want to do a full detailed video talking about gears, because while there's some good information out there about regearing your Jeep, there's also some misinformation out there. And so I want to share my experience with doing that. Plus, I took the time to interview Jerry and asked him a bunch of questions. And so we'll incorporate some of his opinions in that as well. So I'm going to do a little more in-depth video about regearing, but I just wanted to share with you guys that yes, I did finally regear, and I chose to go with 488s, and I could not be happier. I've already done a break-in, changed the oil. I probably have about 1,000 miles on the Gladiator since doing it, and I can tell you I'm very happy with how it drives with and without the trailer. So, no complaints about going with 488 gears, but that's not to say that 488s are for everybody else. Okay, you probably got some questions about this red stripe here, so let's talk about that. So for those of you that have been following the Gladiator build from the beginning, you'll remember that my vision in the beginning was to take my love for adventure and my military medical background and smash it all together into this Gladiator, what we're calling the Trail Aid Station. And the real ultimate goal here is to bring awareness to first aid. Now, some things that I want to do are to make it unique, make it my own, to make it stand out a little bit. And one way we just did that is by adding some graphics. And I'm really, really happy with how these came out. Now, this is only phase 1 of the graphics. There's more to come. But I went up north to Orange County, and I went to see Marvin over at Beyond Wraps, and I talked to him for a couple weeks about kind of my vision on what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do a complete wrap of the Gladiator because, one, that's a little bit labor intensive and can get a little expensive. I just wanted to do some really nice, subtle graphics. And so we went back and forth. He helped me design kind of what my vision was here. And so on the hood, I have just a simple little vinyl wrap on the hood. It's got some topography on there. Originally, I had the TrailRecon logo on there, but it just seemed a little too much like Superman. And I was like, no, I want to keep it a little more subtle. And so just a nice, clean wrap up there kind of breaks up all the white that was going there. And then on the side, all the way around to the back, is a matching red stripe with also the same topo in there. And you'll notice we did a little bit of a black outline on both of these, and that just makes it a little cleaner. I didn't like how the red just kind of faded off. I liked having the black line there. Interesting, when you put a stripe on a Gladiator, you really notice the body lines just aren't perfectly square. Where the cab meets the truck bed, it kind of falls in and wraps around. And then at the back of the truck bed, it does the same thing. It's kind of rounded and it kind of turns in. And so Marvin worked really hard to get these lines to be perfectly straight. You'll notice here we got a little Easter egg. This is a caduce. A caduce is what I wore on my uniform, representing that I was a corpsman in the Navy for 26 years, and so that has a lot of meaning to me. So we have one of these on each side and then one on the back, and then trail aid station on the back, so people kind of understand what this project is. And while there's still a lot more to do when it comes to turning it into the trail aid station, for now, the foundation of this vehicle being an expedition vehicle is really coming together. So I mentioned that this is only phase one of the graphics. We are going to do some more stuff that's going to pay a little bit more tribute to our military brothers and sisters out there, and also to recognize some of the folks that have helped with this project along the way. And so we're going to have 3 big graphics that are going to go on here after I get back from the Arctic Circle, and they're going to go on the truck cap, which we haven't talked about yet. Stainless steel. This thing over here that I know that many of you are anxious to see is also stainless steel, but we'll get to that here in a second. This is the Overland Vehicles Systems Expedition cap for the Jeep Gladiator. They have a few of these for different vehicles, but this is their first one for the Gladiator, and I am super excited to have this. This is a huge asset. Not only is this super strong and durable, but it's going to allow me to keep all my gear inside, secure and out of the elements. This is the perfect thing for what I envisioned the Gladiator trail aid station to be. Now, I mentioned this is all stainless steel, so it's very strong. Up top you have some rails, so you can put a roof rack up there, you can put a rooftop tent, awning, whatever you need. For me, I think I'm just going to put a little bit of storage up there, and then probably a 270-degree awning. I don't think I'm going to do a rooftop tent. In fact, when I was just in Arizona just 2 weeks ago, I took the ground tent and it was totally fine. When I go to the Arctic Circle, I'm taking the trailer because that's just going to be a bigger asset to me, and I can sleep in the trailer. So just depending on what the situation is, I'll either ground tent it or I'm taking the trailer. Now, there are 3 big doors on here, and this is a nice big blank canvas to do some graphics. So I think we're going to incorporate some of the stuff we've done here in the stripe, and Marvin's going to help me design something pretty cool for this. We've already talked about a few things, but more on that soon. But I think you can already figure out it's probably going to be red with a little topo, which will really kind of make this pop a little bit. The doors on here have some nice hydraulic struts. It's very durable, and it's got some nice seals in here, and then you have just this really nice interior space to figure out how to build it out. Now, I'm leaving this side completely open, but you can see on the other side that I have installed some of the molly panels that you can get with this cap. I didn't put them on this side because I kind of have an idea about how I want to build this, and I want to be able to have full access on this side. But having them on that side is a great place to be able to mount some stuff. You can also get some where you can put them on the back, but I actually like to be able to see out the back window and all the way through the tailgate. So I didn't want to impede the window by putting a bunch of stuff there, but that's an option. If you don't care about seeing out your back window, boy, the sky's the limit for where you can kind of mount things in here. Now, you'll see the back window has kind of this honeycomb pattern on it, and that is for protection. So if somebody decided they wanted to break a window and try to get in there, that's just a little bit more of a deterrent to keep them from doing that. The cap is designed with a positive vent in the front that helps to keep dust out, and it's working really well. The challenge is you really have to seal up the truck bed and the tailgate really well, and I spent quite a bit of time just plugging a bunch of holes, and I got this heavy-duty rubber weatherizing strip that goes all the way around the tailgate, and initially it was working great, but it started to fail. And I was very meticulous about how I installed that and make sure I cleaned everything with alcohol, but it's just not holding up that well. And so I need to find a better solution, or maybe just try it again and reinstall that weather stripping. But The truck cap seals very well. My tailgate, that's where the dust is coming in, and so I need to sort that out. You'll also notice that I have a couple jerry cans back here, and many folks have asked if I'm going to do a long-range fuel tank on the Gladiator, and the answer is no. It's actually not going to work with, well, the thing that we're going to talk about here soon. And so I'm just carrying a couple 5-gallon jerry cans, which is going to give me the range I need for this upcoming trip. So really happy with this truck cap. I'm going to leave a little link where you can find all the information on all the stuff that I've done to this Gladiator, and specifically where you can pre-order this cap if it's something you're interested in. All right, let's hop onto the inside. We got one more thing to talk about before we talk about the thing out here. Now, this next thing is something I'm pretty proud of. I mentioned that I was toying around the idea of having this box be an external battery system for me, but then I was thinking, oh no, I'll just build it underneath the goose gear system. And well, I debated that for several weeks before I finally had this kind of aha moment. I'm like, no, the box is going to be perfect for my needs, and let me explain. So this is kind of a one-off box that Goose Gear made for me a couple of years back, and I've actually just kind of been sitting on, and thankfully I held on to it because this is perfect. Inside here, I have installed a 150 amp hour Redarc lithium battery. It's securely mounted here, and it is wired up to a Redarc 50 amp BC to DC controller. And so there is power coming from the alternator, and it's coming straight into here and to the battery. So the minute I turn the key on, I'm getting 50 amps, which is quite a bit, charging this battery. So this battery charges up super fast. I also have the option to hook up a solar panel, so when I'm not driving, it will still receive some power. I just haven't hooked that up yet. The cool thing about this battery is it has built-in Bluetooth, so I can constantly monitor the health of the battery, which is a very nice addition. Now, why didn't I put this under the Goose Gear platform system and save some space? Well, that was kind of my aha moment. I was like, you know, every night when I get to camp, I am struggling to charge all the things that I do that need to be charged. You know, I'm creating content, and so I have GoPros, I have drones, I have cameras, and I'm constantly like trying to remember to charge things, and now I don't have to worry about that. I built this little charging station on top of here, which was extremely easy. I went online to Amazon, and I found some of these foam pieces. They're like a 2-piece foam piece. And basically what you do is you trace out something that you need to have laid in here. And so I have all the battery charging systems. I basically trace it out with this pen, and then they supplied this little, I don't know, heat gun kind of, and you basically burn out the top layer, the black layer or the red layer, however you want to do it. You pull that piece out, and then this sticks right in there. Man, I can think of so many different applications for using of this, like for tools or whatever, but in this situation it was perfect for helping me build a charging station. So now I have all my batteries charging while I'm driving and while I'm not driving, because this is hooked up 24/7. So even if I forget to charge something, as soon as I get to camp, as long as I'm plugged in and I turn the power on over here, I'm charging up. Now, I took a lot of time, and I was very meticulous. It actually took me 2 days to do this because I really wanted to take my time with the wiring. I made sure I ran the proper gauge wires. Everything is fused. I tried to keep things as clean as possible. I'm really happy with how this turned out. So on this side, I've got an on-off switch, and I've got some USB-C, some USB ports, and then a 12-volt for the fridge. So the fridge can run all the time. However, I did use them all up for everything that I have. So I may put another bank in here just so I have some extras going forward. But I got to tell you guys, I am super happy with how this turned out. This Redarc system with this little charging station up here is a huge asset that is something I wish I would have done a long time ago. The challenge is I can't install one of these on all my vehicles, but It's gonna be kind of a bummer when I take a different vehicle and I can't take this with me, but I love this thing. What do you guys think? Now, before I share with you what I think is the coolest thing I've ever done to a Jeep before, I want to rewind to my initial vision. I wanted to bring my military background to this vehicle, and I drove a military ambulance that had a high water fording exhaust on it. And that's something that the military has done for generations. I mean, they have the old Willys that had high fording water exhausts on them as well. And so I had this vision of thinking about how could I do that on a Gladiator. It's not something that's ever been done before, but I know I have a great relationship with the guys at Magnaflow. They're just down the road from me. And so I was kind of thinking, you know, it wouldn't be that hard to take the exhaust outlet out of the rear and just run it off the back. That would be pretty simple. So I sat down with Rich from Magnaflow and I told him kind of what I envisioned. I was like, yeah, I kind of want to do that, but I don't know if putting it in the rear would be the right thing to do because it might get banged up if I came off a rock or whatever. But then putting it up here on the side, going up underneath the frame rail, well, that might get damaged as well. And so I was kind of, I don't know, I was getting a little discouraged on kind of coming up with an idea that was going to work. But Rich kind of sat back and thought about it for a minute. And he got back to me in a couple days. He's like, Brad, how do you feel about drilling a hole in the side of your Jeep? And I was like, well, I'm not opposed to it. Let's do it. And so that's what we did, guys. We drilled a hole in the side of a perfectly good Gladiator so we could route a high water fording exhaust on here. And I am absolutely over the moon with how this turned out. So let's talk a little bit about what it took to make this work. First, yes, we had to drill a very large hole into the side of the Gladiator. And there's actually 3 pieces of body metal inside there that we had to drill all the way through. Thankfully, there's nothing in there. There wasn't even any kind of sound deadening or no wires, no insulation. So drilling that hole was pretty easy. But then we needed to figure out a way to run the pipe through there, but also make that a watertight seal. And so Rich figured out, okay, he's gonna build a very close tolerance pipe that goes through there, which will be for enclosing that whole area. So he built that pipe and he expanded one side so it fits, and then there is a little lip on each end which we sealed and then bolted in. So this is completely watertight. There's no water getting in there. And there is a perfect gap around there so we could route the exhaust through there. Now, before we could route the exhaust through there, I actually had to modify the current exhaust. So I had installed the Magnaflow Overland exhaust system for the Gladiator, and all we did was cut off a few inches of the pipe that goes from the manifold all the way to the muffler and move that back. And that allowed us to route the exhaust pipe up and over the frame rail and through the body and then up and out. And so you can see here that it's really clever. Rich really thought this through a lot. The angle here is very similar to the angle on the door and the fender. So we've got this beautiful angle that comes up and then it goes straight up the top. So you have clearance with your door, and more importantly, we're not very close to the fuel door. The other great thing is Magnaflow used to produce products for motorcycles. And so they had all this motorcycle stuff lying around, and they were able to figure out how to easily, I mean, it was really crazy how the wheels were turning in Rich's head, and his whole team helped out with this, do this heat shield on here. This heat shield is, let me mention that this is phase 1 of this exhaust. They're already, as we speak, working on phase 2 that will have the same outline, just a little bit different design, but more on that in the coming videos. You're gonna have to subscribe to check that out. But this heat shield is surprisingly really, really good. I can drive the Gladiator around for a couple hours, let it idle, and I can literally come over here and touch this. It's crazy how much this really works and keeps the heat off. Now the bottom part does get very warm. You can brush up against it quickly and it's not going to scold you, but within about 2 minutes, it's pretty cool. It's pretty warm to the touch. But the plan is to add a little bit extra protection because we don't want anybody getting any third-degree burns and have to break out the first aid kit. The tip on the exhaust, we put the little Magnaflow up there to give them a little nod, but we're going to do something a little more special. But this pivots, and so we have it angled away from the vehicle just a little bit, so it's kind of coming away. The other thing that we had to think about was this is all stainless steel, so it's not going to rust. You do have that stainless steel discoloration, but phase 2 is going to take care of that. Stainless steel expands and contracts as it gets hot and cold, and so because there is such a small tolerance in the gap of the hole where the exhaust comes through, you need to make sure that that wasn't moving around and then started vibrating. And so they actually fixed the exhaust on that side, and then it's hard fixed here, so that's not going to move, which is really good. The other thing is I did not want to bang this up on the trail. So because it's up high and it's tucked in, and it's really tucked in, if you look down from the side, it doesn't stick out any further than my fenders. It's really, really a good tolerance. But let's say I hit a rock or I hit a tree or we damage this. The good thing is that on the other side, it's one clamp and one bolt, and I can actually remove this entire thing if for some reason was to damage this. We could actually make this a straight out side exhaust if we wanted to. We could just add another little piece there and have it straight out. We talked about doing that, but I really like the high water fording exhaust. And the great thing has just been how good it looks and how well it performs. It sounds just as aggressive as the exhaust did originally. It's just a little closer to the cab. I'm okay with that. Some people may not be okay with that. The heat is one thing that we've definitely been keeping our eye on, and so far it's been great. You can rub your finger in between here and you'll see that there is just no heat coming off onto the Gladiator, even the vinyl. I mean, you would think if it was getting that hot that vinyl would start to show some wear, and it's not. It's fine. It's actually working really, really well. Now, yes, this is a functional exhaust. It has to be functional for what I'm doing. I'm going to the Arctic Circle. I can't have something that's not going to work. I've got a snorkel on the front, and I know I've got a high water fording exhaust. I could get pretty deep in the water if I needed to. I need to be careful because then water gets inside the vehicle, gets in the electronics and inside. But it's functional. I'm not going to go in the water that's high. And here's the thing, guys. I wouldn't advise anybody to do this. For me, I wanted this to be a really cool centerpiece. I just wanted it to be functional. And I've already had people come up to me in the gas station and are asking me questions about it. And I think it's great because then I can lead right into the conversation of, do you have a first aid kit? Do you have first aid training? Now's a great time to do that. So if you guys need a first aid kit, we have the TrailRecon Vehicle Trauma Kit. And if you go online to the American Red Cross, there are online basic first aid courses you guys should check out. The goal is, with this entire vehicle, to hopefully get people to carry a kit and know how to use it. That's the ultimate goal. I'm super happy with this exhaust. I know I already posted a teaser on social media that there's going to be all kinds of opinions about it. This is my Jeep, and I love it. And that's all that matters. I hope you guys are as excited as I am about the Gladiator. More to come about our upcoming trip. Till next time, thanks for watching.